I can only tell you that out of passion and madness, he almost killed me with the bread knife on a Sunday afternoon, and that I owe my life to a chair that fell over and gave me time to find the door and get help. And that was Matahari, November 1903.
Ooh,
I know.
I'm so excited about this, guys. This is Jen.
This is Becky.
This is too close to home. And we're going to have a good story after all that bullshit that I just told you guys. Sorry.
I originally thought when I stumbled across this that it was going to be about a woman who murdered. It's not at all. This is going to be more of a historical piece.
I love a good historical piece.
Yeah. There's,
at least the ones you find, because I keep finding the ones with people's ding-a-lings out.
You do. No ding. Well.
Well.
We're not really going to talk about ding-a-lings out, but there's some out.
They're just be
not the core of the story. Dinglings are definitely involved, though.
Just not the crux. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All right. Let's dive right in because this is going to be a fun one. And I'm already happy that Jimmy knows about her. We'll see if Jen does. So today I'm going to tell you the story of Matahari.
Not the Mahatma Rice guy, but the lady.
That's right. She lived a life of marriage, family, exotic dancing, beauty, fame, travel, espionage, and death.
Is that you? Are you writing about yourself now?
Everything except the exotic dancing. Nobody wants to see that.
I do exotic sitting. I take exotic naps.
Maybe an exotic
I have
vacation.
Exotic snacks.
And that's where it ends.
That's the limit.
She was born Margaret Zella, born on August 7th, 1876, in Leeuwarden, Netherlands. She had 3 younger brothers, Johannes, Ari, and Cornelius. She was born to her father, who I apparently removed his name from this.
He ain't about it, but
it
ain't about him.
And it was her 3 brothers and her, but she was the apple of her father's eye. Her father's greatest honor was when he was selected to serve in the Mounted Guard of Honor when King Wilhelm III visited. Her father owned a thriving hat and cap shop, made investments in the oil industry, and became affluent enough to give her and her siblings a lavish early childhood and included exclusive schools until the age of 13. While in school, she learned German, French, and English, spoke them all fluently.
I can't even speak English fluently.
Right?
And that's my first language.
She spoke 3 whole languages.
Also, why wasn't... Okay, everybody, there's a roll of the dice when you're born, okay?
There is.
A roll of the dice. And I'm just saying it's very fucking rude. Mine got rolled to two broke people in Florida.
That mine rolled snake eyes.
Mine said, you know what? We need something to make you funny. Let's give you a whole lot of adversity.
So here's some poorness, sprinkle of childhood trauma. Let's see what you can do with it.
Good luck.
Life gives you limits.
Over here, she's like learning 5 languages.
Yeah. But,
I did learn Ebonics.
I did too. I learned street.
Blood in, blood out.
Her father absolutely spoiled his children, but his expensive lifestyle ultimately led to bankruptcy. And when the bankruptcy came, her father was like, holla, hood, I'm out. And he left the family.
Father who? Not me.
Not me.
I think I need a pack of Newports. Isn't there a gallon of milk needing to get from the store?
I'll be right back. Her father left and moved to his brother's home in The Hague. That's how you say it, right? The Hague?
Hauge.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did some enunciations.
Hey, listen, I've never known you to be wrong, so that sounds absolutely 110 fucking % right to me.
But The Hague is a lot more well-known than I was aware until I started writing this story.
Well, now I'm learning too.
There you go. Margarita and her brothers stayed behind with their mother, and her brothers and her, they moved from their nice house with their fancy schools, all their fancy clothes, to a small, tiny apartment that all 3 of them lived in. She was forced to quit school and give up her lavish lifestyle. Her mother died a year later of tuberculosis at the age of 49.
It's a very Schitt's Creek story.
Yeah, it is. Very.
David!
Margarita was sent to live with her godfather, Mr. Visser, and she was sent to school to study to be a kindergarten teacher in Leiden when she was only 15. This only lasted a year after it was rumored that she was caught with the school principal having an affair.
Oh.
It's said that he was madly in love with her. This was an early sign of how she would go on to live her life, capturing the hearts of men so very easily, but then paying the consequences of being a woman.
You know, that's me. That's my life story.
Everywhere I go, they just falling over themselves for me in love.
Can't even help themselves. Right, Jimmy?
She really was like that. They loved her. And she didn't even have to try.
Go get it, girl.
And she wanted that lavish lifestyle, and she learned how to use this to her advantage.
I ain't mad at her getting her bag. You do you, baby. You sound off.
And when she had to leave school, she was considered tainted and disgraced. And not surprising to anyone, he had no repercussions for the role in this affair. So slut-shaming has been
a forever thing?
Forever.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah. She was just
That's
clutched
called
pearls
jealous.
At her.
They're peanut butter and jelly, okay?
100. And he just went on to keep being a teacher, keep doing him.
While she out there living a life of luxury and wonder.
So after the affair, she's kicked out of school. She went to live with her uncle and aunt in The Hague, too. At 18, she answered an advertisement in a Dutch newspaper placed by Dutch Colonel Army Captain Rudolf MacLeod. He was then living in the Dutch East Indies, which is now Indonesia, and he was looking for a wife.
Oh.
It read, "Officer home on leave from Dutch East Indies would like to meet a girl of pleasant character. Object, matrimony."
Object, matrimony. There are so many things that could be in that spot.
But he just
leisure.
He wanted him as a wife. She sent a photo of herself looking beautiful. He responded to her, and in March, she met him.
I thought, this time that when people had to send photos and they were like drawings of each other.
Yes.
I fucking love that and how it's been portrayed like in modern times. Like, you're not like your picture. Well, you're not either. It's like filters have always been around.
When you had to sit there for hours.
Only back then, the filter was Rembrandt.
So in March, she went and met him. He was known as John in Amsterdam. He was 39 years old, a hardened professional soldier of aristocratic descent. He was not in good health. He had diabetes, was an alcoholic, and was very hot-tempered. So,
I thought this was like, that's what was being told to her at first. And it was like, oh, no, we're just talking about matter of fact, because that is not a good sales ad right there. I am diabetic. I am grumpy. I am no good before 11.
And I drink all day. No, none of this was told in the ad.
I got the sugars.
None of this was told. That was just her surprise when she met him.
What a surprise.
But on the other hand, one foot in the grave, one out.
One foot in the grave, the other one a banana peel.
For real. Despite all of those charming attributes and very obvious reasons why he had to place an ad to find a wife, the couple did not waste any time, and in 6 days, they were engaged.
She's like, I gotta lock this down before he dies.
I gotta lock this down before somebody comes and snatches him up and cuffs him.
Exactly.
On July 11th, 1895, they were married in the City Hall of Amsterdam. She was 19 at the time, and he was 39.
Which at that time, might as well, you've been 89. You are a hard 39 in those times, okay?
Hard 39.
Especially if you were a sailor.
A soldier.
Might as well be the same. Still hard, because you having to trek all over the fucking world and shit.
On horses?
No.
Well, I don't know. They might have had cars. And she was under the impression he was this officer of aristocratic descent, that life of luxury was about to start back. And it did for a little while.
Look at this. I'm fixing to get on my yacht, my SS, clutch my pearls.
And she did for a little while. And then,
just like it happened in her early life, it got snatched, didn't it?
It did. Well, he went into like a retirement, so they were living on the pension, and the pension was very like measly. And she was like, "Ooh, I'm not about this life. I need you to go back active duty." And he didn't.
Oh, okay.
She said, "I had not married to go without luxury, and I was flirtatious, and he did not like that. I had inclinations that made it impossible for a woman like me to be a good housewife.
Nope.
I am not content at home. I confess frankly, I wanted to live like a colorful butterfly in the sun.
See, I don't do good in the sunlight. I'm a moth. I like bright, shiny things like Jimmy.
So it's really was fun to do some research about her because there is a museum that have tons of her diaries, of her letters, of her writings. And so when I
wonder if she ever thought that would happen. Like, you're writing in your journal. Do you ever think that, like, that's going to end up in the Smithsonian one day and someone's going to hear about your first period or whatever? Dear diary.
And they didn't find it till decades after she had passed by relatives, like going through stuff, they found them. And so they preserved it all and put it in a museum. So anytime I use like one of her quotes, it is directly out of one of her letters or her journals or something. And so,
which is like super rare for that time. People like papers were such a fragile thing, a fragile medium. Like, think about the burning of the Library of Alexandria or whatever. Like, keeping that shit a long time ain't usually a thing.
And you get to see her writings all the way through from the beginning all the way to her death.
From her brain.
Her ups and downs and everything. It was
not
really fun.
Not from a witness. From her. That's the coolest.
And then they find out some things that were said in the papers and stuff about her. They find the writings and they're like, so that was fake news. This is what really happened. And this is one of them right here. So their first child, Norman John, was born January 30th, 1897. 3 months later, her husband took an assignment in Javi, and so they packed up and moved.
Right.
She was very excited to leave Amsterdam and was hopeful for a new start in an exotic land. She was very disappointed, though, when they arrived. Which
Can I be stationed in the Maldives? Bora Bora? Can I do that?
That's definitely not where they went. So I felt a lot of connection with her here because I remember when the boy's dad got his first assignment, and it was the third biggest city in Oklahoma. So I was like, oh, we're going to go to this big city. And we pulled up and I was like, I started crying. I was like,
it was a complete letdown.
Oof. I still have pain and trauma from it. Well, that's what happened to her. So they were in Amsterdam and they were going to the Dutch Indies, which is Indonesia. So she thought, oh, this exotic land, it's going to be so great. They got there. Think of little triangle hats out in the fields picking peas. All farmers. That's what they went to.
Oh my God.
She was like, this isn't what I signed up for.
This is very ghetto.
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
This is very not luxurious.
Not at all. They were in the middle of Javi and there was nothing but land, heat, and insects. With nothing to do, she became pregnant with their second child.
She found something to do, boy.
Jean Louise and gave birth on May 2nd,
People like me would have suffered back then because there's so many things I can do at multiple times. I got a phone, I got a TV, I got this, I got that, I can walk around, I got to listen to podcasts and everything. But then you were like, I play the harpsichord. I read one of the 3 books we own.
And I sit by a candle until it burns out.
Think, I would die. No wonder why there was so much trauma. No wonder why Bridgerton was so juicy. They had nothing else happening. Thank you, Lady Whistledown, for giving us something to do.
So being in this middle of nowhere, she decided that ain't nothing to do. I'm going to start learning about their culture. And she became very interested in their culture. She began to wear a sari, learn their dance, and even learned a few words of Malaysian. Almost every night there was some sort of party, and she was there to attend and have a
what's your first
wonderful
thing
time.
you think when you think about Malaysia?
Bugs?
I would think it would be different. I would think you would think Zoolander. Because of Mugatu and who plays him.
Well, now I will.
You're going to kill the Malaysian Prime Minister? Sorry, that was an absolutely unnecessary detour.
No, it was absolutely necessary. So she loved to dance. And when they would go to these military balls she would dance with all the officers and she loved all the attention.
Especially she'd be picking up all these probably belly dances.
Exactly.
And these men are probably used to missionary only. They're like, what? Your hips can move?
What?
Girl, let me see what that body do.
Her husband, as most husbands, especially of the time, he wanted her to be beautiful and seen, but contrast to her behavior, he wanted her to sit and be quiet. But that was not the life she was about.
Do. Men want a butterfly, but then they want to cage them.
Mm-hmm. And everybody just look at their pretty butterfly.
Not this butterfly.
So, needless to say, there's a 20-year age difference. He's diabetic, alcoholic, hot-tempered, wants her to look pretty. She wants to be a colorful butterfly in the wind. The marriage was overall
She just wants to be a colorful butterfly in the wind.
They were not seeing eye to eye. They did not catch a vibe. So now he starts becoming physically abusive to her because she's not taking his orders that he's used to giving.
See, that would be me, though, because I'd be like, no, keep eating me because I'm not doing it. You might as well just break your hand because I'm that stubborn.
I am, and I'm not digging my own grave. In the early summer of 1899, the children became suddenly ill. The army doctor came to help, but it was too late. Little Norman, only 2.5 years old, dies. Their daughter, who they called Nani, was just a year old, and she barely survived. They both were inconsolable. He did love his children. The story goes that the children were poisoned by the nanny.
Ooh.
And that's what everybody thought, that the nanny had poisoned the children. But it was much more likely that Norman died for treatment of syphilis.
No.
It was believed that John passed the disease on to her and then she to the children in childbirth. The family was treated with toxic mercury.
Of course, as was done in the days.
Mercury treatment consisted at the time of ointments, pills, elixir, injections, and through vapors. Didn't know it was used in all of those ways. That was fun.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked it up. I mean, you could see the old bottles. Yeah. I mean, they gave it to you. The treatments were long and they were considered lifetime. There was an old saying at the time, one night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. And if you don't understand, Venus was the god of sex, love, and desire. So one night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury.
That's right.
I was like, oh, that's cute.
That was fucking clever.
That was. It should have been what was written on the STD posters. That
honestly, you know what? I honestly think that teenagers would have less sex if they learned about what's his name? The gangster Capone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you learned about what happened to him with his STDs, like, come on now. I'm just gonna let you know this is what happens.
Ain't fun.
You'll be fishing out of your fucking swimming pool, son. Shitting on yourself. So really, wrap it up before you slap it up.
So this is what probably actually killed their son. And letters that she wrote discovered almost 100 years after the death of their son by her husband's descendants confirm that. She said in the letters, yeah, that's what happened.
Oh.
So it was discovered that they had been treated for syphilis, and they made up the story that the nanny poisoned them to protect their daughter. Because if anybody knew that their daughter at only one had syphilis, she would never be considered for marriage.
Yeah.
She would be tainted, scarlet letter A. So instead, we just
in those times, you got your syphilis from your husband. Okay, thank you.
So we just gonna frame the nanny.
Frame the fucking nanny.
Because she's just a servant anyway.
She's probably Irish. They treated them disposably.
Because part of me was like, oh, well, I get why they did it. And then I was like, wait a minute, hold up. What about the nanny?
Yeah.
And Artie
Oh, no, they were like in the West Indies. So it was probably like an Indian woman that probably had nothing to do. Probably had some children at home.
Well, I don't know. You know, at the time, white people brought their own white servants.
That's true. They did bring their white servants everywhere. I did watch Titanic.
Me too.
I'm not saying that's a historically accurate film, but I feel like I'm pretty safe to assume there.
On some key points.
Who was the director behind that?
Steven Spielberg, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cameron. I'm like, I'm sure he would have he went back and fixed the stars after they pointed out they weren't correct. So he would know.
Totally.
I'm just kidding, guys. I don't really think that
way. I feel
way.
like the evidence supports the case. So an already disastrous marriage only worsened after the death of their child. Rudolph became more violent, and she begged him to go back to the Netherlands. He finally agreed.
Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. She was like, let's come on. He finally agreed and they moved. She was so happy to be back, but when they arrived, they were constantly hounded by creditors from the mounds of debt that he had owed.
Mm-hmm. She was like, you wanted us to come back here and look what happened. Look what fucking happened.
The bill
You
collector
happy
found
now?
me. So, of course, he did what alcoholics do. He began to drink even more. After their daughter became ill again, her husband left with their daughter. So they were like on the verge of splitting up. The daughter becomes sick. So he Amber Alerts with the child out.
Amber Alerts with the child. Shut the front door. I love that so much. I don't know why. That sound feels wrong, but it feels so right.
It does. So she filed for divorce, custody, and child support. So she won. They said, yeah, you get it. But he refused to pay any of those, and he refused to return the child. So she was like, all right, I don't got no monies. I don't got my child. So what I need to do is I need to get a job. I need to get some money. I need to get shit together. And then I can get another lawyer, and then I can make him bring her back.
It makes me sound like the plot to She-Devil.
Because there was 2 different versions of this story. One was she got the daughter back, and he wouldn't pay any money. So they didn't really have anywhere to live. She couldn't get a job because she had the child. And so he came to get her the child for visitation and then just bounced. Either way, the story goes the same. She was trying to find work, get her shit together to get her daughter back.
You ever seen, this is a silly question. Have you ever seen that movie, She-Devil?
With
With Roseanne Barr?
I think so. It sounds very familiar.
Her husband is an accountant that cheats on her, and then she just spends her whole life getting back at him. And it's like literally chef's kiss.
It sounds very Roseanne Barr, too. Something she would do.
Very much is. She really does that. Like, she's like, okay, I gotta get my shit together. I'm gonna have to leave my kids with him, with his mistress, and then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go fuck up everything for him. She has a whole list, like career, health, relationship.
That was her.
And that's a bitch you don't want to fuck with,
It's
okay?
really
That's
not.
a funk around and find out. And I feel like we would be those types of bitches.
This is called motivation.
You give me the motivation, I'm gonna do it.
Yes. And spite plays a big role in it, too.
Oh, really ran by spite.
Per her letters that they found later, she had 2 choices to get her child back. Lead a respectable life as a mother or go to Paris and leave all respectability behind. Because she was like, I can sit here and take my child, but I can't do anything. Or I can leave all this behind, go back, try to make some monies. In her own words, I am well aware that such a life ends with mishap. Little did she know just how true those words would be.
Oh, no.
Her aunt told her that her only choice was to go back to her husband, but she feared him even more now. So she had an acquaintance that lived in the apartments that she used to hang out with, kick it with. And when she told him and his wife, she'd been telling them the whole story and everything she was doing. They were like, no, fam. You can't go back to him. Like, you gonna get oofed.
Like, he's getting worse.
Yeah. So they gave her some money to go to Paris. And this is where Margarita dies and the story of Mata Hari begins.
Ooh.
Here comes the fun part. In 1904, having no money and hoping to get her life together to reunite with her daughter, she began to dance professionally in Paris. Paris at the time was the city of glamour and dreams. So much music, theater, fashion, and dance were coming out of the shadows. She was gorgeous, stubborn, free-spirited, free from her husband, and in a city ready to embrace such a woman. She settled into the Grand Hotel.
I just think about Moulin Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very much vibes.
Everything glitz, glam, lights,
Yes.
action, sequins, pearls.
Yes. It's all correct. She settled into the Grand Hotel, one of the most famous palaces at the time. She dressed, walked, and acted as though she had money. She believed if I want to get money and I want to get people that have money to take me in their company, I need to look like I got money.
Exactly.
Even though I don't.
Gotta walk the walk.
And that's what she did. The men
Oh
in
my
the
God,
hotel,
it brings it back to Titanic. She had to do what Jack did.
Mm-hmm. The men in the hotel were immediately taken with her. Ernest Moliere hired Mata Hari to be part of a circus as a professional horsewoman. So when she was a kid, she rode horses. And of course, that's what rich people do. They train their kids in.
They're all equestrians.
So he was like, come be a professional horsewoman. Now, when I say circus,
I love how I just realized that. I was like, yeah, they all want to be equestrians. You're like a professional horsewoman. I like that better because now I'm just thinking about a woman in a pantsuit, but with a horse head.
In my defense, Those were the exact words they used. And I, not being as smart with the English language as you, just realized what the fuck was going on.
It's just like, I just like words. Can I use them effectively? Usually not.
Apparently, I like adjectives instead and really just, use
It's
a
not
bunch of
that I'm smart.
descriptions for a job instead of the word of what it is.
I just like the way things sound. It makes my ears feel good.
So, anywho, the professional
Sorry.
horsewoman. Stop trying to smart me up. So when I tell you that she joined a circus, at first I was like, oh, so she started as a carny and like worked her way up. Circuses were different back then.
Okay.
They weren't these traveling ones that you see pop up and you go to and you're like, what did I just pay $40 to get into this tent
These people
for?
probably never had a bath in their life.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm very, very always focused on the people's cleanliness and their smells.
Samesies.
It's already awful when you have a smell of animals, but then you get BO on top of it, and it's like, ugh.
This was an aristocratic private circus. We ain't talking about your pop-up traveling circuses, and she was some carny. This was a circus that offered her the opportunity to meet people at the highest social level and even larger bank accounts. So these was like rich people that hired the circuses to come perform, and it was fancy.
Oh, yeah.
She did this for a bit and then decided to become an exotic dancer. She took the aspects of the culture she learned in Javi and mixed it with the European elements to create a style and look that was unfamiliar and alluring to the people. At the salon of Madame Kurvisky, she met and caught the eye of Emile Goumet. He was a very well-to-do man who had recently opened the Museum of Oriental Art. He knew she wasn't a professional dancer, but she had something that he knew was better than that. She was unique, and he needed her style to create a buzz. So she already had dark hair, olive skin tone. She had learned all this culture over there, so she did the belly dancing and all that shit, like you said.
She was very authentic.
Yes, and she was trying to be a colorful butterfly, so she wasn't afraid to like be outgoing, be herself, garner attention, and it wasn't something of the day.
She created this character and was going after it.
Yeah. And he knew, so he was opening this museum. They call it a museum, but it was like a theater. And he was like, I think instead of trying to get some big headliner, I need somebody that nobody's ever seen this before, because that's what's going to create the buzz and generate people to look at my place. So the night of the performance, he hand-selected his audience. He brought writers, artists, and premier members of the nightlife. He handpicked the people that he knew would come see this and then like fucking tell everybody or write about it or put pictures out. He was like, I don't just want like the rich people that have nice houses. They're not going to talk about it, tell anybody. They're not going to get the buzz for my place I need.
I need to have the right people in the right spot.
Yes, that are going to go out and make more people come here.
I need some Paris Hiltons.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what he went out.
Some TMZs.
But the Paris Hiltons, because they're still rich, they're still powerful, but the influencers of the time, basically.
Exactly, yes. Skibbity Riz, Ohio.
March 13th, 1905 was the most important and pivotal moment of her life. She created erotic Indian temple dances, which she performed passionately. It was erotic, mysterious, and sensual. It was exactly what the public wanted. It'd be crazy
if they had, there obviously isn't video of this, of her.
No.
But it would be amazing if they had gotten video of her, because it would be cool to see that.
Yeah. She performed 3 dances. With each new dance, she would remove part of her costume.
Yep.
She wore a giant bejeweled headdress, lots of jewelry and scarves, and she would strip down all the way to just a jeweled bra. And she never went topless, but that was because she was embarrassed of her small breasts. So I want you to picture, she's on the stage. She's in exactly what you would imagine, like all the scarves, like an Indian outfit, the big jewels and gold and all of that. And so it's really dimly lit and like kind of like a light on her.
Making it sparkle, like just insanely.
But the light was very dim, as in like almost like you just had a small light on. It wasn't a spotlight. So she was like in the shadows is what it looked like while she was up there.
It always makes me think of like when at Houston Museum, they have like a gem exhibit. And if you go in there, the light is very dim like that. And it's something about that lighting that helps make gems just look.
Sparkle more
Yeah.
than all of that light on them. Well, the reason that she did this is because by the end of the dance, she was completely naked except for the jeweled bra on, or so the audience thought. She really
Oh.
wore a nude, like pantyhose thing.
Okay.
So because of the scarves, because of the dim light and the jewels, everybody thought she got naked, but she never really did.
Okay. I was like, well, why are we going? What bottomless though? Why are we going to choose bottomless?
Right? And people lost their fucking minds.
I bet they did.
She literally made the headlines of the paper. She was considered exotic and scandalous, but not in the traditional way of like an exotic dancer on a stripper pole.
No, it was probably alluring and mysterious.
Yes.
That thing that just kind of, that sensual drawing in.
And they considered it more art of what she was doing than it was. So it was considered classy what she was doing.
It was piquing people's curiosities.
Yes. And that was all part to the guy who had her come. He picked the audience. He helped her to make sure it looked like an art form versus something nasty and naughty that people would be shameful to go see. This made people want to go see it.
This made people more proud to talk about it out loud, too.
Yes.
It's classy. She only takes off her pants, guys.
She instantly became a sensation. It was art, so therefore, regardless of the perceived nudity, it was classy. Everyone spoke of her in his museum. Due to the fact that she was willing to appear almost completely nude in public, made her an instant success in Paris and other larger cities. Since most of Europeans at the time were unfamiliar with the Dutch East Indies, Matahar was thought of an exotic. She became extremely successful and traveled to all of the best theaters to perform. The impresario, Gabriel Astrick, became her manager. He booked her into the Olympia Theater. This theater drew the best performers and the most well-to-do. She began to be paid 10,000 francs, which is equivalent to 50,000 American dollars a night. A night, each show, 50,000 G's, to go up there and do 3 dances.
3. In your little leggings. By Hanes.
Yes. Well summed up. She became very sought after.
It makes me, because that's not the only person that's done that.
At the time, she was.
Well, I mean, like, talking about changing your race, like, over time.
Yes.
There have been people like, what's that? She's a famous blonde bombshell. And she ended up dying.
Marilyn Monroe?
No. Yeah, Jane Mansfield.
Oh, yes.
Did you know she was Hispanic? She had, like, trellises because she had a widow's peak and black hair.
Oh.
You know, like, she changed her race to be more palatable that worked for her. It's interesting to see the people that have done that.
Do you know what the Mansfield bar is? On the back of semi-trucks?
Yeah, it was named after her because they're like...
Yep.
What you guys didn't see was me doing, like, a hand cut motion to my neck.
For those of you that don't know, she was killed in an auto accident when they went under a semi-truck, and that's why semi-trucks have a bar down there now.
It was a mosquito truck.
Oh.
It's a mosquito sprayer. I just remember thinking, like, well, that's great. Not only are you dead, you're getting...
I fucking can't.
I'm sorry. These are the things, like, I remember...
And think of... Oh, never mind.
One of the first things I ever did that made me realize that maybe I'm not like other people is I was talking to some other kids in high school about Spartans and how they would treat babies. And I'd be like, you know, like if they would take them out there and they would like judge them. And if they weren't good, they would like, you know, do like the
buckets,
like throw it basketball move of a like, just throw that baby down. Be like, there you go. And all the kids, I'm giggling. All the kids around me are like, what the fuck?
That was my first scene.
But that's why Becky gets me.
That's right. She was very sought after and started traveling all over. She performed in Madrid, Monte Carlo, Monaco, Berlin, and Vienna, to name a few. Her early education in speaking German, French, and English paid off well during this time because she could go to all those places and speak the language.
Yeah, but look at this bitch. She knows all these languages.
All of them. She was at one point the highest paid dancer in Europe. She not only danced, she performed in operas. She knew how to work the stage, the audience, and the media.
You better work. Come girl.
She was a triple threat.
Sachet, sachet, sachet. Sorry.
She also took on many lovers, and many of them were high-ranking military officers, politicians, and others in influential positions in many countries. She learned very quickly that those were the people to fuck around with because those were the people that could allow her to do things that other people couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Because these high-ranking military officers and these politicians, they're the gatekeepers.
They are. They have
And-
unprecedented power.
Yes. So she was like, oh, yes. I'm making all this monies. I'm making all these friends. I'm pretty much doing whatever the fuck I want. I am being the colorful butterfly I always wanted to be.
Look at me. Go butterfly, go. Go butterfly, go.
And she was very much a not catching feelings kind of gal.
No.
She had nothing for these guys.
Nothing.
She enjoyed her time with them. She enjoyed having a good time. She enjoyed letting them buy things, but she didn't fall in love with none of them.
No.
She was like, I ain't got time for love. I
Just
got
spreading that syphilis like a cute little
everywhere.
butterfly.
That's all I could think of throughout it was, but you got syphilis. Now, all
Did it
these
start
people got
affecting her at any
syphilis.
point, or did she die
Mm-mm.
young?
Never affected her.
That's crazy.
Yep. She must have spread it all out.
These
Got rid of
are
it.
like, we can't fuck her up. She is a good super spreader.
Or maybe the mercury treatments work. I don't know.
Maybe. Got life had been all these people like, I feel like I should have been born in this time. My first thing I was like, did you think about the hygiene back in those days?
Oh, she was. You're going to love that part about her when we get to it later.
Okay.
I thought about you while I was writing it out.
Like, ugh.
One of her lovers was Gaston Menier. Now, he would have been one of my lovers, too. He was known as the king of chocolate in France.
Okay. Mine too then.
Yes. I'm here for it, sir. Many of
I need
these,
something sweet and chocolatey, sir, not you.
no, we're
The things you sell.
the keys to the factory.
Real quick.
Many of her lovers financed her lifestyle. She didn't even have to spend her monies. They was buying it all for her.
She's just banking it.
They would pay her rent. They would buy her expensive gifts. She loved luxury. She loved jewels, gowns, furs, horses, all of the lifestyle.
I love that. I love that for her because, like, I love a girl that knows that she loves the finer things in life and ain't afraid to go after them.
But they said she stayed broke a lot because she was spending their monies and her monies. But she did a good job, too, of stashing away some of her money and acting like she was broke.
I
think a lot of it
would
was a
probably be
play.
poor mouthing too because that would get it paid for. Oh my god! Listen,
Exactly.
I hate to burden you in this, but rent's due. I don't want to trouble you with it. Just don't worry about it though. What? Here's $3,000. Oh my god! Thank you. Thank you.
Pretty sure that's exactly what she did. She said a lot of times she didn't even have to ask them. They would just, almost like prostitution, they would just pay for shit so she'd come chill with them.
Hell yeah.
And she was like, all right, I'm here for it.
Say less. She's always like a reverse Hugh Hefner.
Yes.
You know what I
very
mean?
much. Yes. Matahari kept, as I said, many military officers as lovers. She understood with them came power. In Madrid, she met Jules Cambon, then the French ambassador to Spain. Another long-time lover was Henry de Rothschild.
Oh, of the Rothschild family.
Yes.
Okay. Now those people had money.
That's all she kicked it with.
That's Rothschild money is woo.
And
Even now.
she knew their power was more important. She didn't care so much about the money. Well, I mean, she did, but the power. She talked about that a lot in her
money
letters
comes and
stuff.
goes, but power
Opens all the doors for you to. Alfred Mazzini, who was the Minister of War, was another lover. She understood that her independence and power stood not only with her performances and money, but with whom she kept the company.
She makes me think of Marilyn Monroe in a
Yeah.
way before her time. Because Marilyn Monroe also has this, looks like she's this dumb blonde, but in real life, she had a very high IQ and was a, like, ravenous reader.
That's her.
Yeah.
She was
Like,
very
she did,
intelligent, spoke multiple languages.
but used her sexuality and that soft feminine side that she welded so well just to get the things she needed.
Yeah. And I ain't mad at her for it.
I ain't mad about it.
The first man that she followed, leaving her career behind for, was Alfred Kuipert. He was a German lieutenant. He was married. He was very rich, but his money came from his wife's family.
Oh, okay. So no. I can't be poor in love.
Well, she was never in love with him.
Oh, no.
She left the dancing behind because
Poor
he was like,
lust.
let me get you a nice place and everything you need, and you can just be a kept woman. Don't
Yeah.
have to do nothing. She was like, say less. And you have a wife, so you're not going to be bothering me all the time?
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Seriously. It's time to put these belly dances to rest.
I need to relax.
My back hurts. I've got a headache.
She remained with him for 3 years. He set her up in Berlin and kept her living a very nice life. During this time, she did still perform, but just not very often.
Right.
His family made him stop providing for her, or his wife said she was going to divorce him, and if she left him, the money went too, because she was bringing all the dollars in.
Oh.
He separated from her and gave her 300,000 marks as a parting gift, which is in current US dollars, 1 million.
I ain't never got no $1 million from any of my ex-boyfriends.
Same.
I'm going to have to send them a Cash App request.
The second time she followed someone was a French banker named Javier. I don't know why I didn't put his name in phonetics. Rocio.
You probably did what I did. I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't.
He was married as well. She went to live in the country, and he would visit on the weekends. She would ride her 4 horses during the week. And this is Jennifer's favorite part. She was obsessed with baths and hygiene.
Thank you. Finally, somebody.
And she would bathe twice a day, every day.
Yes, girl. Yes.
So she lived out in this country estate, literally in the middle of the country. Beautiful, all those horses. But the bitch wanted baths twice a day. And you know what that meant, right?
You had to have a whole bunch of hot water that takes a lot to do all at one time.
That the servant was going and getting for her.
Uh-huh.
And
burning themselves. Fucking
about how tedious it was to be like I don't want to say servant. I don't know if they were called servants then. Help?
Peasants?
Workers?
The help?
Employees?
1099 workers?
So they would have to fucking draw her up a hot bath twice a fucking day.
I probably hated that bitch.
Obsessed with it. Obsessed.
I would be too, that dog.
And I was like,
I just don't know how she
Jennifer's gonna love this.
Handled the men though, because you know the men that were coming up in there. That's probably why she was like, I gotta wash this off. All this nasty gut.
Probably.
This penis cheese. Ugh.
They said she would like clean herself from head to toe because she was basically a germaphobe. And so she was like,
Same,
I got
man.
to get this off.
Same.
So that's probably another reason the men loved her. She always smelled so fresh and so clean.
They were like, my wife hasn't smelled like this since she had her bath 20 years ago when we got married.
Exactly. So this lover did not turn out to give her as great of a life as her previous one. He made bad investments and took some of her money and drained her money down.
That will not do.
Yeah. He drained her from the 300,000 mark she had to 200,000. So took a third of $1 million from her. And she was like, sir, you got to go. She left.
I only allow my men to give me money. I never take it.
She left him, sold everything, the house, the horses, all of it, and went back to the stage.
Yes, ma'am. The stage never betrayed her.
She went to Milan and began performing again, her fame restored. She danced in a ballet, and due to her amazing performance, she met a new man.
Oh, yeah, girl. Reeling it in.
She performed and began to give private garden parties with an Indian musician.
Oh, that's what the kids are calling it nowadays?
With an Indian musician, Inat Khan, which just helped her become more exotic and more coveted. So she's already got this very exotic appearance. He was like, for real, Indian culture and played the Indian instruments and everything. So they were like, the white people.
They were like, listen, I wasn't too sure, but in a duo, like, they can't both be lying.
The white people went crazy. So they would literally get
white
hired.
People do love
ethnicities.
Yeah. I did watch this thing the other day.
To look at and make work for them, but that's it.
I found out this. I don't know if you've ever heard of anybody doing this, but this woman was talking about being the only black friend and how sometimes she's had white friends come over here to talk about how they have interacted with another person of ethnicities or went to a quote unquote black wedding and stuff. And she's like, I just don't like what? I don't think I've ever done that. Like walked out to him and like, let me tell you about this black person I met and how I'm with it. If you're that person, cut that shit out. That is fucking weird.
It borders on racist. Just saying. White people, and
Fucking white people, man. It'd be true. That's why we're non-practicing.
that's right. So these two would go around and perform at these garden parties that they were paid exorbitant amount of monies to come and perform. And
Everybody loves a duo,
they really do.
you know?
Ebony and Ivory.
Penn and Teller. Now we can't think of any others.
No, my mind went blank. But the role that she wanted more than anything was there was a big performance currently being done and that was for the part of Salome. This is where I need Jimmy to insert his fun fact about Salome. So she wanted this part so bad because the character looked like her, was like her, but it was like a coveted position that she could never get.
She's like, I'm meant for this role.
Don't worry, he'll remember. I trust him. Save that part, don't cut it. So I have on tape that I said I trusted you. You're a good guy.
Jimmy's Fun Facts. In the Feast of Herod story within Matthew 14, Salome is the niece of King Herod and is offered a reward of her choice for performing a dance for his guests. She is the one in the biblical story that asks for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. She is associated with the Dance of the Seven Veils as originated in Oscar Wilde's play Salome and has widely been transformed into the physical incarnation of female lust. The idea of the presence of veils suggests unveiling, meaning slowly revealing herself. In other words, Salome may be the origin of the striptease.
I literally had this conversation with his friend Dan the other night. Hey Dan, if you're listening, where he's like, you just don't ever remember anything. I'm like, that's when you can start fucking with them. Just start making it up. Be like, Jimmy, why'd you say that fucking thing? I didn't say anything. You don't remember, man.
I love it.
He's like, I wouldn't do that to him. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm an awful person because I would.
So since she could never get that part, she did get to perform it privately for a prince, Prince de San Faustino, at a palace in Rome. It was the only time that she got completely naked, no nude leotard or anything, because that's what happens in the real play. And he was so impressed that he commissioned a painting of her in the part naked, and they still have the painting to this day. Yes. You got to look it up, huh?
Now I do.
She really is beautiful. And such like not a traditional beautiful way, if that makes sense. You'll know when you see her in a minute. I'll have to find it and send it to you because they showed it in the movie that I was watching.
But looking at her, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, they shaved armpits back then? That sucked. I'm only saying that because it looks like an actual photo of her. And I was like, that would have had to suck back then. But you know, she did take baths twice a day. I've got respect for that.
See how beautiful her costumes were? And she's not like a traditional beautiful, but there's a beauty about her.
It's like how Elizabeth Taylor is beautiful.
Yes. So while she's living her best life, her ex-husband, whom had remarried at this time, was now divorcing his second wife. She tried to regain custody of her daughter, but was denied. And he would not even allow her daughter to see her or write to her. And she said that was always like the worst thing. Like through this whole thing, she would like save money and constantly try to get her daughter back, and she never could. As is the time.
I hope her daughter did at least know that she tried. But, you know, in those days, it's probably not the case.
She was now over 30 and having trouble finding work. Besides her body becoming less desirable to theaters, many limitations of hers were everywhere. There were many competitors now learning how to dance like her, wearing the attire that she was wearing. They were younger. So it started to become harder for her to be the spotlight that she was. She started to perform at different lesser known theaters, eventually going to low class theaters to make money. From 1905 until 1914, she was a star and she was now dimming. She was forced to leave Paris because she spent so much money and never paid one bill.
Hell yeah, girl.
She ended up landing a 6-month contract in Berlin performing at the Metropole Theater. This was just what she needed. She thought everything was turning around and was paying no attention to the fact that at this very same time, war was beginning.
Oh, no. World War I?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
She was just doing her thing like, no worries. It's not a big deal.
And then
We're
Europe goes
good. Yes, and quickly.
very quickly.
On August 13th.
Franz Ferdinand died, and then it all went to shit.
All went to shit. On August 13th, 1914, Germany declared war on France. Foreigners had to leave Berlin. So if you were not a citizen of Berlin, you got to go. The war begins. The show
Yeah,
stops.
that's the one thing I did learn. Because when you hear about World War I, World War II, a lot of it is focused about being like anti-Jew and everything. But it was a very much anti-immigration.
Yes, very much. I learned that too. All of her bank accounts were frozen and all of her assets were frozen. She had no money to return to Holland.
Damn.
She seduced a Dutch businessman who paid for her return to The Hague. Since she could no longer perform, she depended on her lovers for income. She takes on a new lover, Baron van de Capellan, and he supports her. Then one day there's a knock at the door. It's the Council of Germany. Herr Kommer. He wants to recruit her as a spy for Germany and offered her money to do so.
Oh.
He offered her the equivalent of $60,000 in today's money. So here's the thing. She was traveling all
I feel
over.
like this is like an Ocean's 11 thing. Like, I said I wasn't going to do anymore. I just need you one more time. Here's 60,000 that you so desperately need.
Kind of. Except, so she had been traveling, doing all these performances, had been forever. War's fixing to start, and before war starts, war's already started, right?
Right.
So these countries were watching her because what is she doing? She's traveling all around, and who is she keeping company with? Officers of all these militaries.
And you know what the most precious resource there is? Information.
Yes. So all these intel started watching her and having these suspicions about her. Really, old girl was just doing her thing.
She had no clue what.
No fucking clue what the fuck was going on.
She just out there doing her, living her best life.
So Germany shows up knocking on the door talking about, we want you to be a spy. And she's like, what the fuck? Oh, you're going to give me $60,000? Okay, sure. I'll spy for you.
You know what? That's my second talent.
She says in her letters that the only reason that she told them yes and she was going to do it was never because she had any intention of doing it. It was because they froze all her money and assets. And she was like, these motherfuckers owe me anyway.
Yeah.
They took all my shit. And I'm
going
like,
to take my money and run.
Facts on facts on facts. As a Dutch subject, Mata was able to cross the borders freely. So they knew that they would be able to use her to travel to go visit people
Right.
and get information. And she could travel under the pretense of like performing and stuff. And that was still like, you could still do that during the war, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
You couldn't just go live there. They kicked you out. They didn't want you there. But she was able to move around and cross the
It's
borders.
kind of like how the USO does like their concerts and stuff. Like they still allow performers to go.
Right.
And journalists, like the press.
Right.
And medical teams. Like there's those even during times of war or conflict usually let through.
Right. So they were like, this is like the perfect bitch to spy for us.
Which is like so funny if you think about it. It's like important things and entertainers. Listen, the troops need our support.
They do. So he gives her the money and he gives her, I want to make sure I get to this part so I don't freeball it incorrectly. Calmer provides her with invisible ink and instructed her to sign her letters with the code name H21. Invisible ink seems like such a joke now, doesn't it?
It does.
She said, she was like,
Tom and Jerry.
Yes. She was like, I got you, fam. I'll write these invisible letters with my code name H21 and I'll send them out. Thanks for the money. He left. She said she went to a pond in the backyard, threw the ink in it, and was like, nah, that's not really going to happen. Who knows if it really did or not? Literally.
Fuck you, motherfucker. Sure.
Yeah.
You left it? Just making sure you did.
She just goes on about her life like nothing happened. I know.
I'm loving this.
She throws the bottle of ink away and she just goes back to living her life there. She decided
$60,000 richer.
Yes. She decided, I'm bored, don't have my kid, supposed to be being a spy anyway. Let me start traveling again, trying to dance and whatnot. So she goes back to Paris and she's like, I'm going to go back to Paris. I'm going to be a big name on the stage again. Everything's going to be great. What she forgot was it was war. This is why I like truly believe she really didn't like write no letters in that invisible ink. Because girl,
she was not in it. She was like not even interested.
No.
Like, wait, that shit's still happening?
Yes. Like,
damn, will y'all just settle it?
did you not look out the windows?
Did you not hear that siren from the air raids?
So she shows back up in Paris. There's not many people out spending money. They're not attending the theater. Frankly, they're not enjoying life at all.
You mean America right now?
Yes. It was very sad and solemn. She seems to be, again, completely unaware of what's going on.
She didn't read the room.
Families are sad and France is losing. It's not a good time for them.
Why aren't you guys all like fun la 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 like Moulin Rouge? What? War? People are dying?
Do what to who? What happened to your son?
You're on rations? Yee.
When she arrives and is a foreign woman, she is not welcomed with the open arms as she previously was.
And I bet she was like Pikachu shocked face.
Instead, shockingly, she was met with suspicion. You don't live here. You're not from here. What are you doing here acting like everything's okay?
And also,
Sussy
I'm
sus,
sure
sus,
France
sus.
has always been that way. Because it
Probably.
still is that way.
Yes.
I don't like you. You're not French. I can smell the American on you.
It's pretty much what they said to her. And they're like, So now
The fuck
France
outta
is
here.
kind of watching her and they got their eye on her. She goes to staying back at the Grand Hotel, but she is not aware that the French intelligence were diligently watching her.
Oh, shit.
They had been shadowing her in hopes of
It's
catching
like a
her.
Mr. Bean situation.
It so much is, but with a pretty girl.
Everything she does probably looks suspicious. Meanwhile, she's thinking,
Yes.
oh, I should not have had those beans last night.
Exactly.
God!
Exactly. So they're following her everywhere she goes, hoping that they're going to catch her in pro-German activities. What did she do? She resumed her previous life. She went to shops, cafes, like the world hadn't changed.
Yep.
And they're following around like, we going to get her. We going to get her.
She's going to slip up. Get her.
That was not the case. This, while they're...
Meanwhile, she's just shopping. And in a dancing queen.
Exactly.
Yes, sweet,
And when I watched
17.
one of the documentaries about her, that is exactly what they showed. She's like in the hat shop trying on a hat, and there's like fucking buildings falling down, and the hat shop lady has like rags on. I'm not fucking with you.
It's here in the eye, and she's not even registering it.
Hat shop lady is like people hobbling over. She hasn't eaten days. Her clothes are rags, and she's over there. And I'm like,
She's over there sweeping the same pile she's been sweeping for the last 2 weeks.
yes. And she's up there trying on the new hats, buying stuff. And I'm like, girlfriend was clueless. But they really thought she was.
So
They thought she was deciphering world secrets.
why is there not a movie on this?
There is. There are hundreds of movies about her.
But I mean, it has to be a comedy, though.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
Florence Jenkins movie. Have you heard about that one?
No.
That was a socialite in like 1920s New York. And she had lots of money and decided that she wanted to have a career singing, except she was excruciatingly awful. And people made fun of her, and she became famous from it. And she had no clue she was famous because she was awful.
Very, very similar vibes with different, contexts. But yes, same thing.
And the whole thing is hysterical.
This was, some of it I was just like, wow, she really had no fucking idea what's going on.
No fucking clue.
At this time, she meets a new man, and the first one that she says she ever fell in love with. He was a Russian captain named Vladimir Demaslov, a handsome 21-year-old officer whom she called the love of her life. This love will change her life. Vladimir was stationed near...
A 21-year-old man would do that, I'm sure.
21-year-old soldier?
Vladimir.
And you did nothing but hang out with old-ass officers all the time? He's about to rock your world.
He fills out those dress blues a whole different way, baby.
And he was very handsome.
Oh, I bet he was.
Vladimir was stationed near Vittel. Batel was very close to the front military zone. So Mata, when she went to go visit him, which they let her, she had to get a special travel stamp to let her go because it was so close to the front lines. She was referred
She
to
must have really loved him then, because
ain't
Mata
me.
before was not about that. Mata was for Mata.
Yes.
And she would not have been going in a war zone.
Oh, yeah. Well, not
Now,
only
she
that.
might have stumbled into one unknowingly.
Yes. Not only that, I know that you love Jimmy very much, but would you have flown to Iraq
Absolutely not.
and stayed in his tent with him?
Shit, no. All he had to say was porta potty. And I was like, ow!
Not for
Good
me,
luck.
ma'am. I love
I'm proud of you doing
though.
this for your country.
And for me, I thank you. Hard pass.
Thank you. I appreciate you, sir.
So she was referred to the immigration office to see a Captain Georges Ladeau, the head of the French intelligence. Now, he had already been warned about Mata, and he was the one who had been shadowing her for a month. Although the surveillance had yielded nothing yet, he was convinced that she was spying for the Germans.
Sir.
Sir.
You let that pussy blind you. Because she's over there shopping again, I'm sure.
Yes, and having a coffee.
And he's like, well, I've got to do this. And she's like, still? When do you have to stop wearing that silly outfit? It's a uniform? Oh, okay.
So
I'm going to catch her. I just know it. This is the long game. She's playing the long game.
she is. So he tells her, if you really love France as much as you say you do, then you'll help us. And she's like, okay.
Vive la France, I guess.
He was like, I want you to spy for France. Say less, fam. She was like, he tells her to think about it, stamps her paper to travel, and to let him know her decision when she returns.
Did he offer any money? Because I feel like she'd want to know about that.
You are totally getting the whole vibe of this.
She's like, because I won't let you know last time, and I would have been her. I would have been like, they offered me 80.
Well, she can't tell him she was, German.
I know.
Offered her money. So she goes to go visit her lover. While she's there, they stay in the nicest hotel, and they stay in the hotel all day and night. All
I
they
bet
want
you
to
they
do
do.
was they left like once to get food, and the rest of the time they just ate food there. They never left. They were in love. She said she was totally in love with him. That's all she wanted to do.
And that's what they did.
They were spying on her the whole time, and they were still convinced she was
But you
being
know
a
what?
spy.
If there's anything to spy on, at least it's something like that. And not like some kind of like horrific thing where people are being murdered and you're having to spy in like on a concentration camp.
I'm glad you finished that, because you're like, if there's anything to spy on, it's that. And I'm like, two people doing it?
I just say, like, I'd rather not be watching people getting shot, and that's my spy deal, is just watching two people get horny and order room service.
Should have clarified that a little in the beginning. Like, if I had to spy, it would want to be that she went to a hotel and I saw nothing else and she never left. Instead, you're like, if I got
I'm literally across the room and the door only opens for room service.
I say all they do is stay in the room and do it. And you're like, if there's anything to spy on, that's it.
I bet Jimmy got excited for a second there, and I was like, sister, no.
He knew
It's because I wanted to do nothing.
He knew the whole truth the whole time. That's definitely not what she's talking about. It was just me slightly confused from the hours of recording we've done today. My battery's draining, and I got confused for a moment.
Good. It's very good.
That's why I sat there like, let's see.
Well, I was like, I better speed up because this sounds like I just wanted to watch people have sex, and that's not. Just like always, my mouth works so much faster than what my brain does.
Like, let's sit and see where she goes with this. Is she so tired she's going to reveal to me that her and Jimmy, they like to go sneak up to people's houses and watch them do it? Because if so, I'm going to let you know, Jen. It's a hard no for me.
I'm going to have to tap out on that one.
Red flag alert. Anyway, we digress. So that's all she did, was kick it with her lover in there. So after she leaves, shortly after, he gets injured in war and is in danger of going blind. Mata's so in love with him that she decides to agree to spy for France and ask for enough money that her and him can live a life together.
And Vlad. Vlad the Impaler.
So she comes up with this plan. She's like, all right, he is possibly going to go blind. He's been hurt really bad. I love him, and I never want to be with another man. She literally was that in love with him. She's like, I don't ever want to be with anybody else. She was like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell France, I got you, fam. I'll spy for you.
Yeah.
And get enough money that they could retire.
Right.
Obviously, he can't work if he's blind.
Yeah.
She won't have to perform anymore, and they can just be
Live
lovers.
happily ever after in a cottage by the sea.
Yes. Which is sweet.
Very sweet. Very sweet. Except for the syphilis part. But, I'm never going to forget that. That's still in the back of my mind.
Except for the syphilis part, yes. So,
germs are gross and it bothers me.
Anywho. So she uses this opportunity and she asks for 1 million francs. He agrees. She's told to travel.
She's like, I probably should have been her. He said that way too fast.
Which to me would have been a red flag. Like, hold on. You didn't even barter
You
with
mean
me.
maybe 2 billion?
What's going on here?
When am I going to get the hesitation here?
Yeah. Something doesn't feel right.
This feels dangerous.
This feels wrong. He tells her to travel to the Netherlands. Once she arrives, she'll receive further instructions. Payment will follow once the mission is complete.
See, no, get your payment up first, baby.
That's right. Mata confidently sets to work. She boards a boat from Spain to the Netherlands, and then they were supposed to go on to Belgium. When her boat docked at the English port, she was awoken by British officers in the early morning. They mistake her for a very well-known female spy named Clara Benedict. When they ask if that is who she is, she starts laughing, tells them to look at the photo they have, and says, that lady is a lot fatter than I am.
First of all, the audacity, you say that I'm that fat bitch.
The audacity.
She couldn't never.
Never. They didn't believe her, and they began to search her cabin. They strip searched her and took her to Scotland Yard to be further interrogated. She's interrogated by the #1 British counterintelligence network, Basil Thompson. He knows immediately.
It's the most British name.
It is. It is. That she is not Clara. So she's now been with the German intelligence, the French intelligence, and now the British intelligence are talking to her.
She's making the rounds, baby.
She is. While being interrogated.
She's up to what, 1 million francs and 6 million Reich marks.
This is where she fucks up, and you know that she was never really a spy. This was not a show that she was putting on. While being interrogated, she tells them that she is actually working for them. She tells them that she's working for Ledoux, and they can go ask him. He asked me to be a French spy. Yes, I am. Ledoux denies hiring her, but tells him to let her go and send her back to Spain. So a spy would never tell they were a spy.
No.
So the fact that she said she was a spy is a dead giveaway that she's not a spy.
Yeah.
Unless that's all, again, part of her elaborate play dumb cover-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Her Mr. Bean act, if we will. She then decides, well, you know what? Hold on. Let me call the Germans back. She makes.
I've already burnt the trail over there at the French.
Let's head back over to Germany, see what they can do for me. So then she makes contact with the German head of intelligence, von Koller. She begins to seduce him and becomes his lover. She identifies herself as a German spy and passes him some harmless information. She admits that she gave him information, but she was like, y'all, it was shit everybody already knew.
Yeah.
I was just trying to act like I had information.
Right. I'm trying to be in.
She was like, I was trying to get him to trust me, to think I'm really working for you because I'm giving you this information about the French.
Like, I'm trying now, guys. You kept telling me I wasn't doing a good enough job.
So now I'm like, and she thought she could seduce him, give him this little information, and garner favor with him like she had every other man in her past. He starts to think, hold up, I think you're working for the French, pretending to want to come work for the Germans by giving us this fake information that we all already know, and you're trying to get information from me to go back and give them.
See, I done got you.
Yes. So he's like getting hip to the game, but there's no game.
No.
They all think there's this game and there's not.
A big lack thereof.
Yes. So he betrays her and he begins sending coded telegraphic messages that he knew would be intercepted by the French and decoded. He tells the Germans, I've been in touch with agent H21. So what he does is he sends, as I said, these coded German messages, right? Well, he's using old German code that the Germans knew the French had figured out. So they changed their code to something the French didn't know. So he sent it in the old one, knowing the French would intercept them and knowing they would read them.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. And it's like so crazy that all of this is going on and she's no fucking
Not
idea.
a fucking clue.
Not a fucking clue.
She is a dancing queen, unconcerned with World War I.
He then tells Mata 3 different secrets, which are old, harmless information to see what she does with them. So he gives her fake news, old news that people's already know. And he wants to see, does she take this information?
Is she going to take the bait?
Of course, as he suspected, she goes back to France.
Because
and
she's an awful spy.
Awful. Wants to speak to Ledoux face to face. Hoping this will garner his trust because she's got these 3 secrets. CCC, I'm doing what you asked. Give me the $1 million and I'll keep it up.
Yeah.
So she goes back to tell him all this and he won't see her because he has gotten the decoded messages that the Germans sent and know that she's speaking to the Germans.
Yes.
She knows none of this. Now that we're up to speed on all the different people and everything, I had to rewrite that a bunch of times because it can get very lost in translation of what is
because there's a lot of timelines happening at the same time, really.
Yes. And it honestly took me a little while to figure it all out too, because I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I thought she was talking to them. Wait, what, huh? So let's do a quick rehash. She agrees. Germans approach her and ask her to spy. She agrees, throws out the ink. She then goes to France. They ask her to spy. She agrees, but get caught up in a mistaken identity and reveals that she is a spy with France. Denies. France denies because obviously she isn't good at this. She then returns to the Germans, who began to catch on to her and set her up by sending messages with information about France that they know the French will use to decode, and realize that loose lips do indeed sink ships. They give her old, useless information, hoping she will take it to the French, who have already decoded the messages, knowing that she's talking to the Germans.
Yes.
So we're all caught up. We all know what the fuck is going on.
It almost felt like the Germans were doing France a solid. Like, listen, let me just help you out. This bitch sucks.
Let me let you know. It's not going to work.
You tried. Good on you. But it ain't work.
Well, and you know, that German officer's trying to garner him favor because the Germans are going to be like, oh, good job, son. You caught a spy.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't give them no information. You knew what was going on.
That's what I'm talking about, son.
We'll ignore the fact you were just doing it to get your rocks off by sleeping with her.
That's right.
So when she returns, like I said, Ledoux refuses to meet her. He refuses to accept any messages, and she's got no idea what's going on.
Right.
So according to the secret war files later released, after not getting any response from Ledoux, she travels to a small town and seeks out a medium who tells her, you will not get your medium and your end is near. Again, really showing that she's not a spy. She travels to a small town to a fortune teller and tells them everything.
Yeah.
I was being a spy for them and being a spy for them. She's not a real spy, guys.
See, I need to go somewhere nobody knows me and talk about being a international espionage spy kind of situation.
And find out if they can tell me what's going to happen.
They're going to totally do this.
Now, I don't think that this lady had any special powers. I think she just heard all the facts as Mata is talking way too much, and she could easily predict her future.
A lot of people
not
die.
Gonna go good for you.
A lot of people were dying for spilling secrets around this time, so it did not take a medium or a genius to say, bitch, you probably gonna die soon.
And I don't think they won't give you any money.
No.
This medium gained a lot of street cred from this, and people really thought she could tell the future when really it was just
called deductions, baby. I do that every time I play Clue with my kid.
Exactly. So what she doesn't know is she's still being followed.
Right.
So when she leaves this little medium, they just go up there and like, so what was y'all talking about? So they know she's telling everybody she's a spy, too.
And she's probably like, God dang, I thought I had it.
And this little bit of information, this little side story, really doesn't have anything to do with the whole premise of the story. I just enjoyed it myself.
I enjoyed the shit out of that. I love that the medium got street cred for that.
And it didn't say that. I just deduced that.
Oh, okay.
Because
Well,
everybody was like,
probably did.
Wow,
so.
look how she predicted the future.
Like, look at this bitch. She knew.
She knew. She's a seer.
See, and she wasn't even trying to scam. She came to her.
And it also just really gives more concrete evidence to my theory of Mata really didn't know what the fuck was going on.
She really did not.
She just was.
Even when she tried to, she didn't.
On February 13th, 1917.
You know, honestly, she is a lot like me.
Right? It's your spirit animal.
Very
Check
much.
your genealogy. Maybe
I
she's
take a
in
lot
there
of baths, but I do not have syphilis.
that we know of.
No, not that I know of. No.
On February 13th, 1917, she was arrested by the French police. She was taken to Monsieur Bouchard, who informed her that they knew she was the German spy H-21. It's so crazy that she had a whole ass fucking spy name and everything. She is charged with being a spy, passing information to the enemy, and accepting money from the Germans. She denies it all. At this time, the war is not going well for France, and people are starving, they're deserting the military, and they're thinking the war is endless, and they desperately need a win.
Yeah.
Mata's about to be their win. Conspiracy theories are brought about when people need answers.
That's true.
This is where femme fatales are born. It is believed that Germans had these women to seduce officers and get information out of them. Now, this is a conspiracy, but I believe it to be true. So let me go ahead and stop the podcast for a minute and go get my tinfoil hat, and then we can proceed. Things are not lining up real good for Mata Hari. They're, in fact, lining up against her. France needs an answer, a hope for this war. Conspiracy theories are forming. Mata Hari has spoken different countries of being a spy. She is socialized with many officers. And finally, she encountered Bouchard, who disliked everything about her. He was more of a purist man, a.k.a. a prude. And he despised everything she represented.
Oh my God, it's like the guy who created cornflakes.
Yes. Yes. John Kellogg?
Yes.
Yes. She had no hope at this point. She went from the heights of Paris to the prisons. So she had all these things that I guess you could say looked like she was a spy. But France was not doing well right now. They needed some form of victory. They were trying to find one. And this dude was like, oh, she a hoe.
Mm-hmm.
We'll persecute her. She might as well have been a witch at the witch trials.
This would be a morale booster that was very, very, very much needed.
Yes. And who's it going to hurt? This lady
just
who
her.
Just represents disgust.
Yeah.
Because he was
been a floozy.
Such a purist. He was the the guy that led the witch trials. What was his name? It went right out of my head. But you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
That was that right here. That was what
the
was going
puritanical.
On. Yes. And
sir, just say you have a small dick. Okay?
Exactly.
Just say that.
Just say it.
Don't be ashamed.
It doesn't work. Whatever.
You have a thunder symbol. Good on you. But don't shame the rest of us.
Exactly.
Don't try to get the rest of us down.
Don't be mad because you weren't born a beautiful woman like her. In May 1917, Mata Hari was held in a Paris prison for 3 months. The life is not the luxury she had lived and craved her whole life. She writes to Bouchard. She begs him to end her time there. She had previously begged him to sell what little she had left just so she could buy soap because she was losing her fucking mind not being able to take a bath.
Oh, I bet.
Losing her mind.
That's me.
She didn't want pens or paper or food. She wanted soap. She was like, sell everything I got and bring me 1 bar of soap. And
one
he
of
was
my
like,
favorite things in the whole wide world is that when I get home from a trip, taking a shower. Like a full shower. Like one of those showers you do everything showers. I'm going to do a scrub. We're going to wash my hair. We're going to do an extra mask. Like I need to wash it off.
Yes.
I can imagine that's how she felt.
Yes. She had your energy.
Because
they went on for quite a bit about how much it drove her absolutely insane not being able. They were like, she told him literally, take my furs, my jewels, everything, and just give me 1 bar of soap.
I just need some soap.
I don't want anything else. And
It's the little things at the end of the day, right?
and he said, denied.
Deny me my soap. I'm afraid. Just give me my soap.
She also, her only other request was she begged for him to tell her lover what had happened. So,
Your bitch was a awful spy.
yes. So her homie's still laid up in the hospital, possibly going to be blind, and he has no idea she's been arrested, that she's been in prison, nothing. He's writing her repeatedly, and he gets no response from her. And she was like, just let him know I didn't leave him, that I'm here.
I didn't just ghost him.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm here, but let him know.
That I didn't die in the middle of the nowhere. It's just something to give him some comfort.
Yeah, he was like, nah, we can't do that.
Oh, damn, son.
Mata Hari had an old friend, Edouard Clunet, who was a star barrister at the time. A barrister at the time is a lawyer. He tried his hardest to defend her, but was met with everything they had to ensure victory.
Of course.
And it's not like it took a lot at that time. The telegraphs sent by Collar were submitted by Ladeau to be used in the interrogation. Of course, it was never disclosed that these telegrams were sent in old code that the French would decipher that was no longer used, proving that they were meant to be deciphered and therefore weren't exactly the best evidence. They didn't tell him that. They also tell her that her lover has moved on and is marrying a different woman because he wants nothing to do with her, which was not true. They're just trying to break her down even more than they've already broke her down.
Every time you say lover, though, I think about that song. Damn, I wish I was your lover. And it is taking everything in me not to sing that.
Well, it looks like you lost that fight.
I did. So I had to put it out there.
This was all a lie. He still did not know she was in jail and had been endlessly writing to her. He tells her this and sends her back to a filthy prison, hoping that she'll break down more. And of course she does.
Of course. After
10 interrogations, she is mentally broken and decides to open up. She says, yep, I took the money from the Germans. Yep, my code name was age 21. But was I ever going to spy for the Germans? No. Doesn't her
baby, I was just poor. I was just doing my hustle.
And she told him, they froze all my assets. They fucking owed me.
Yes.
That's why I took it.
You think I like them? No.
She says, doesn't the fact that I didn't do anything prove my loyalty to France? But girl, they wasn't having it. They were convinced of her guilt. In the light of the First World War, the precise truth is not very important.
No.
The troops are in bad shape, and France needs a public success. He feels if he proves she is a spy, that it'll show a victory for France and an explanation to the problems they've been having.
Yeah.
We've been losing because we got these femme fatales coming in here and getting our secrets. Well, guess what? We caught the bitch. So everything's going to turn around.
Don't you worry, Germany. We own to you.
Before the trials begin, Mata Hari has already lost.
And you know what? That's not the only one that's been through that. There's been a lot of trials that ended before they began.
The trial only lasted a day and a half. Only 2 previous lovers or friends of all these powerful people she kept company with came to testify on her behalf. Jules Cambon, who was the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he states she never asked him anything about military affairs. And Henry de Marguerite, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, states, you well know she is not a spy. Nothing has ever spoiled my good opinion of this lady. He told him, he's like, y'all stop fucking around. Y'all know she ain't no spy.
Like, look at her. Look at her. You gonna do my girl like that?
By this time, Vladimir, the love of her life, now knew that she was in trial, but he did not come and testify.
Oh.
My guess is he was like, he knew what the fate of her was going to be, and him going and testifying would do nothing but hurt him, you know? And it's one of those, that's how I chose to take it as.
All I could think is maybe he just wasn't able to because of the physical ailment.
Yeah. He was still all one eye bandaged up in the movie anyways.
Yeah. I mean, what's he going to do? Go see her?
Or the documentary, yeah.
No, likely.
Yeah. The prosecution ended the trial saying she was the greatest spy ever. If we consider her to be the greatest spy ever, then I think We just found the answer to why they were losing the war.
Call me 007, baby.
The French court martial passes the death sentence. The 7 judges ruled swiftly and mercilessly in only 45 minutes. Despite the meager evidence, the judges found her guilty on all counts. Her accusers smugly speak of arguably the greatest female spy of our century. One of her last writings state, "Death is nothing, neither is life."
Where were they for OJ's trial?
Oh, I know, right? Dying, sleeping, dreaming, passing away. It is all part of one process of either being or not being, in whichever way one seeks to interpret it. On a cold autumn morning on October 15th, 1917, Paris is still fast asleep when Mata Hari is taken from death row to the firing range. At the execution site, the firing squad is already set to shoot her. Nearly 200 people are present to witness the execution. Mata Hari decided to face her execution with her head held high. She does not want her hands tied and refuses to wear the traditional blindfold. She blew a kiss to the priest, the lawyer, and to her accusers one last time before the platoon opens fire.
Now that's just a visual to have in your head.
Yeah.
Her in that firing line, a wall probably ridden with bullet holes, and she
was tied to a post, so you have a better visual.
Yeah.
She was like, fuck y'all.
All the way to the end, baby.
All the way to the end. It is a routine operation, and just after sunrise, Mata Hari is dead. She turned 41 years old. At the end of the execution, the sergeant major said, "By God, this lady really knows how to die."
Yeah.
The European newspapers are cheering. They hailed the unmasking of the conscienceless spy, and her execution is a great success. Meanwhile, the French state is auctioning Mata Hari's possessions to pay off the cost of her trial. Her body gets donated to a teaching hospital.
Oh, God.
The once most desirable woman in Europe is heartlessly cut up as practice material. Her head went to the Paris Institute of Anatomy Museum. It was stolen and went missing in the 1950s. They had it all the way to the 1950s.
That's crazy, bro. Her
Her
head? Oh.
Yeah.
I just still can't wrap my mind around putting somebody's body part, like, not just any body part, but their head in a jar.
Girl,
When we went to go to Zach Bagan's museum, there was a little person's head in a jar. It was an actual little person's head in a jar.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
I
believe
just
it.
remember looking at it and thinking, like, you were a living, breathing person who was somebody's baby.
Yeah.
And I can't remove that human part of them. So it still fucks with me.
Right. When they do it in the medical purposes, I understand it. To try to study and learn things because we can't cure things and fix things if we don't.
Oh, yeah.
But in macabre ways like that, it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Medical's a
tacky.
necessary thing.
Yeah. That's tacky.
Now, if it's like a supposed dick of a Russian
That's fine.
who might have been a mystic,
That's fine.
all day long.
Yes,
Just the face is so personal.
it is.
Dicks aren't. Every dick looks
The same.
weirdly the same.
Slight variations.
It's like being in a fun house of mirrors with a dick. You know what I mean?
No, thank you.
Well, maybe not a not so fun house, but I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of weird shapes.
You said a lot of stuff today that got Jimmy probably extremely aroused.
On accident. See, I'm Mata Hari. I don't have no clue what's going on. I just say some dumb shit.
You do. Talking about fun house, dicks.
Later
watching
on, I'm
people
going to be
have
like
sex.
trying to go lay down. Jimmy's like, "Hey, girl, who gave you that position? Let me tell you about all the things you said today."
And a matter of fact, I have them on tape.
I went ahead and queued this up. Play.
Real quick. The execution of Mata Hari is also big news in the Netherlands.
I mean, her home, yeah.
Mata's daughter, Nani.
I bet there were some people that were shocked as shit to find out that she was from the Netherlands, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, what?
Mata Hari's daughter, Nani, experiences it through the newspapers. The
Aw.
shame is great. 2 years later, Nani is about to leave for the Dutch East Indies as a teacher, and she suddenly dies at 21 years old. She suffered a fatal cerebral hemorrhage. The cause may be syphilis, but who knows? Maybe it was the mercury.
Maybe the mercury. Maybe it was Maybelline.
In a twist of fate, only 4 days after her execution, old Lado, you know, the one that told her he was going to give her $1,000,000 to spy, guess what he was arrested for?
Was he a spy?
He was a fucking spy.
That motherfucker.
Was a motherfucking spy. And I really, in my own conclusion, JJ had to hear all of it. I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version.
Feels like a episode of Traitors.
Yes, I think he's the one that put all the wheels into motion to make it look like she was a spy and get caught to throw it off of him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was a spy.
Could you imagine how pissed off he probably, if he did do that, how pissed off he would have been if he still got found out? Like, God damn, I did all that work for nothing.
Well, I mean, he got arrested.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, all for nothing.
But in the true way of the world at the time, he is acquitted of his charges.
Of course.
But he does spend the rest of his life in disgrace and just like banished from.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't get shot. She got shot.
Yeah.
And
you could be a loner for the rest of your life, but once you're dead, that's it, baby.
In the years following her death, Mata Hari became the subject of numerous books and movies. As more information was uncovered, doubts arose over her guilt. The German government publicly exculpated her in 1930, and the French dossier documenting her activities reportedly indicated her innocence.
I love how Germany was still in the midst of being a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
And they're like, y'all killed an innocent woman.
Yes.
How dare you, France?
How dare you?
Look away from all these
We had nothing to do with it.
Eastern Jews that I'm killing right now.
Well, and remember, they're the ones that sent the messages to get decoded.
That's right.
In 2017, France released various documents relating to Mata Hari, and it led many to believe that she had been a scapegoat of the French officials looking for someone to blame for the country's setback in the war. In addition, it was speculated that her disregard for societal norms also played a role in her arrest, conviction, and execution. In the end, she was the colorful butterfly that she always wanted to be. She is the story of many plays, movies, books, and if we're going to give her all the credit, the start for the rights for women to be who they are and do what they want and live their life as they please.
You are a dancing queen.
She is a dancing queen. So my sauces before I forget and we move on. Britannica.com, Bibliography Mata Hari, Fry's Museum, Collection Mata Hari, The Guardian, and the documentary Mata Hari, The Naked Spy. It autocorrect to space. I was like, I didn't watch nothing called The Naked Space.
Naked Space.
And that's the fun story of Mata Hari,
that
the
was
first
a very
female
good
spy
story.
who coined La Femme Fatale.
I had heard about her, but I did not know any more other than it was a lady that danced, was famous, and was murdered for being a spy.
Yes.
That's it. That's all I knew.
Well, now you know.
Now I know everything. And I am so glad I do because that was I can't say hysterical because she died at the end, but.
No, it was hysterical.
It was bitch, I see you.
It's really fascinating. I'm like, man, I would actually like to go where they have all of her stuff because they have so much of her stuff that did not get sold off and everything. You know, they just sold off all her jewels and furs and all of that. All the other stuff was like away in a home that was found, like I said, 100 years later.
That's so crazy.
And that shit's so cool to me when you find that stuff.
And all that from her words. So, and I love that it was like people were able to fact check that later and be like, let me tell you what really happened.
Yes. And there's so much in the documentary that I didn't include of different excerpts from her letters and journals. And it shows the change in her attitude and her writings from when she didn't have shit to when she had shit to when she went back down and didn't have shit. Because they let her continue writing while she was in prison. So they have her writings all the way up until when she died.
You know, they really were, did people solids. They might not have given them food real well or made them shit in a bucket, but they, for some reason, love to let them write because that's the next one I'm writing about. He was in jail at the time of writing his autobiography.
Yeah. So
they let him write his whole fucking life story.
There was so much. It was really just, I find it a little bit more fascinating when you get to see their words and hear their words.
I think so too, especially because you have like that mainstream fast cut of history where we kind of know what it's about, the ins and a little bit of outs, because it's also given to us at such a young age and kind of washed a little bit, so it's a little bit more digestible for that age. that when you get older and then you really learn, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And then you get those real firsthand accounts like that. Those people that, could have been us, could be us. Just 50 years from now, someone's going to find a gift card that I've given Jimmy. Be like, what is wrong with her? And you know what? They never did find out.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a
really
fun
good.
one that we needed.
We really needed that.
We really needed that one.
Especially today,
Very
guys,
lighthearted and fun.
because today we recorded several of them and we decided on purpose to end it with this one. And it was so well.
Yes. I had fun writing it.
Look how long we've talked.
Holy shit. Do you know that I realized that I was like, this could be a 2-parter, but I didn't have enough before the Matahari, and that would have been really the point to end it. So I was like, nah. But yeah.
Sometimes you just can't stop talking.
She was fun to talk about.
It is. Especially this woman. She was so interesting.
Yes.
Well, you guys, don't forget to find us on our socials. Don't forget to reach out to us for your own Too Close to Home stories. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Also, if your children have phones, do it on theirs as well. Enterprise. That's what we do. We're here in the business of trying to spread this sickness so we can start making money on it.
Amen.
Don't forget to, I don't know. Well, never mind. Just kidding.
I think
Well,
we're
until
done.
next time.
Stay safe.
Keep your head on a swivel.
And don't bring it too close to home unless it's to be a colorful butterfly.
Yeah, you be your colorful butterfly. You are a dancing queen, young and sweet, only 41. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode of Too Close to Home, don't forget to rate and subscribe to us on most platforms. Follow us on our social media at Too Close Home Pod on Facebook, at Too Close Podcast on Instagram, or if you have your own Too Close to Home experience, shoot us your story at tooclosetohome@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening.